Right, shalom. Let's just go ahead and start. Thank you, Brenda, Christopher, Joshua, and Dr. Dwayne for being here. Much appreciated. Let me see. Well, let's go ahead and say a quick prayer. I was just having a little, battle with something in the room. All right, should be fine now. Avinu toda lecha. כי אנחנו יודעים את שמך. תודה לך, כי אנחנו יכולים ללמוד את לשון הקודש שלך. תעזר נא אותנו היום ללמוד טוב בעיניך. בזכות ישוע המשיח. All right, so. Just making sure the microphone's on. Hey, Shalom Sosa. All right, great. Interesting. So YouTube's giving me weird stats of that. I don't know what's going on. So let's go ahead and start. We are on Perek Zion, that's chapter 7. And let's see if we can get through the whole chapter today. If it doesn't take too long. All right, now, here's the picture. All right, so you can see Moshe is praying. All right. When he's hearing from God, from Hashem. So for those of you with cell phones, I'm going to zoom in on the words, actually. I don't want there to... There we go. So you can see that okay. All right. So here we are. Exodus chapter 7, verse 1 in the original Hebrew. Vayomer Adonai El Moshe. Then Adonai said El unto Moshe. So here's what he said. Raah netattiykha Elohim leFaro. Okay, let me bring my microphone a bit closer. There we go. A, this is an imperative, so this is a command form from raah, which means to see. So, raah, see or look, notice. Netattiykha, this is a bit hard to recognize. The verb is natan, to give or to set or to place, right? It can also, metaphorically, like a point, right? So, natati means I have given, I have set, placed, appointed. Cha, that's you. Elohim, God, le, to, Pharaoh. And Aharon, achicha. So cha is your ach, your brother. Yichyeh means he will be. Netattiykha. So a navi, that's American Jews say navi, it's navi. A navi is a prophet. Vayechezaq, the cha is your navi, your prophet. Okay, verse. Any comments or questions? You guys all okay over there? Good morning to those of you in the States. Good evening, those of you over here in Asia with us. All right, verse 2. Attah tedaber et kol asher atsauekha. Ve'aharon achicha yedaber el paro. Okay, that's getting a bit long. We'll stop there. Attah. So this is interesting. So attah means you, talking to a man. And tedaber, talking to a man, means you will speak. So really this literally says attah, you, and then the t at the beginning tells us it's attah. You will speak. Tedaber by itself means you will speak. So this is what we call an emphatic pronoun. It's not necessary. The fact that it's there tells us there's special emphasis going on. So, attah tedaber, I would translate something like, you yourself will speak. Oh, we have an ant back. Well, I'll just let him crawl around, that's fine. 8, kol, all, asher, which, atsauekha. So atsauekha means I will command. Ka is you. Related to mitzvah. See the atsauekha? The aleph makes you think of ani or anochi for I. And Aharon and Aaron. Okay, hold on just for a moment. And Aaron, achicha, your ach, yedaber, he will speak el unto paro. Veshalach. And shilach, so shalach without the dot in the middle means to send. Shilach with that strong daggesh in the middle, that's telling us it's a strengthened form of the verb. When you have that middle root letter, this is the root number 2, right? So sheen, lamed, chet. So when the second letter, the sheen, not the sheen, the lamed in this case is doubled, that's a strong intensified meaning usually, right? Sometimes it's causative. So shalach is to send. Shilach or shileach is to send out, right? To send out, to drive out, that kind of thing. Veshilach, and he will send out et bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, may from arts, land, his. May artso, from his land. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm just going to keep going on here. Verse 3. Vaani akshe et lev paro. Okay, again, just like we had up here, attah tedaber, you will speak. We have the same thing going on here. Ani, I, akshe, I will harden. So it says, and I will harden. And this might even be a vav emphaticum for those of you who are in advanced. So, but I myself will harden, akshe, et lev paro, the heart of Pharaoh, right? His resolve is what that means. Vehrebiti et ototay, veet mopetay, be'eretz mitzrayim. Vehrebiti. So the root of this word, if you see a word and you're just like, what is that? I don't get it. And it looks big, look for the root. Look for the root. So in this case, the root is reish, beit. That's what we have for root. The root is actually reish, beit, hey. But the hey goes away. So rav is like a lot or many, right? Like we say, toda rabah, thanks a lot, like many thanks, right? And the hey has kind of become a tav here before the end, from the rabah, to be numerous. Remember what I told you, if you have a yod before the third root letter, and often you'll see also a hey stuck at the beginning of the root. This is telling you it's a causative form, right? So-called hifil. So to make numerous, to make many. Vehrebiti, and I will make many, I will multiply. Et, we don't translate. Ototay. So otot, and ot is a sign. Otot means signs. Ototay means my signs. Okay. Right, like Joshua wrote, harbe, exactly. Harbe means a lot or more. Ve'et and mopetay, my wonders. Or it can also, a mofet can be a plague also, right? So my plagues is probably better. Be'eretz Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt. Okay, singular is mofet, that word. Verse 4. Velo yishma alechem paro. Velo, but not yishma, he will hear, alechem, unto you all, paro. Right, so that's clear what that's saying if we clean it up in English. But Pharaoh will not listen to you all. Venatati et yadi b'mitzrayim. Venatati, natati means I gave. Venatati, the vav changes it to future. And I will give et yadi, my yad. Right? So probably not give. Remember I told you natan can mean give, set, appoint, place. Set makes more sense now that I saw what he's doing. It's yadi, right? So, and I will set yad-i, my yad, my hand, be, not meaning in, but in this case meaning against Mitzrayim, against Egypt. Vehotsetiy. So this is from the verb yatsa, to go out, and it's got the hey at the beginning. This reminds us it's hifil. It's to cause to go out. So to bring out, to exodus, to cause to exodus. Vehotsetiy, and I will bring out et tzivotay, my tzivot, my legions. my armies. This is counting the divisions of Israel as armies. Et ami. So the yod, again, e means my my people. V'nei Yisrael, the children of Israel. Me Eretz Mitzrayim, from the Eretz Mitzrayim, the land of Egypt. Bishvatim Gedolim. Now, beit, you need to get used to that this means more than just in, right? So up here we saw it meant against, right? V'natati yadi b'Mitzrayim, and I will appoint or set my hand against Egypt, right? Okay, and then sometimes it does mean in or among, but here it means with, right? So one of the meanings of beit is with. So it'd be good to have all of those in your mind. I know a lot of introductory Hebrew courses, they just teach people that beit means in, and probably 70% of the time it does. But also very often it means against or with, okay? Rarely it means from in some of the older biblical Hebrew texts. So, bishvatim, with shefatim, judgments. What kind of judgments? Gedolim, great ones, with great judgments. I think you could even dynamically translate that with mighty judgments. And that, of course, is in parallel to ototay, my signs, right? And mopetay, my plagues or wonders. Tzivotay, my legions, right? Which might be referring to the Bnei Israel, because look, we have two ets, we have a double accusative. So he might be saying, vehotsetiy tzivotay, I will bring up my legions. This could actually even mean like the angels, the angelic forces who are there, because we get another et ami, my people, Bnei Israel. I think it probably is Israel, because later on in the Torah we see tzivot, later on in Exodus even, referencing the Bnei Israel, right? So I think in context it is talking about Israel. But you could make the argument that it's talking about his actual angelic force. Okay, we know that Hamashchit will be on the scene soon, the destroyer, which is a servant of Hashem. Verse 5. V'yadeu Mitzrayim ki ani Adonai, bintoti et yadi al Mitzrayim, vehotsetiy et bnei Israel mitocham. V'yadeu. So this is yada. You probably know this verb. Yada, to know, to realize, to care for, it can mean. To have intercourse with. Okay? So v'yadeu, and they will know. Yadeu means they knew. And the vav changes the time. Right? That's our flux capacitor, and they will know. Who will know? Here's the subject. Mitzrayim, Egypt, or Egyptians probably makes more sense, although usually we see Egyptians as Mitzrim, and this is Mitzrayim, but you'll see this sort of thing. Just like Israel and Bnei Israel is used to mean all of us, like all of the Israelis, Mitzrayim, meaning Egypt, can also mean Egyptians. And since we have a plural here, I would go ahead and translate probably, I think you could justify saying Egyptians, right? And the Egyptians, they will know. The Egyptians will know. Ki ani, ki that ani, I, and then we don't have am. We have to supply that in English. Am yod he vav he. I am Hashem. Bintoti. This is from natah, meaning to stretch, right? And so this particular form, when you see a beit attached to a verb like this is usually going to give you the meaning when. Bintoti, when I stretch out, et yadi, my hand or my arm, al, against. Now you could say over, because it does also mean over. And by the way, this is one of those things that all languages, when you try to translate these little particles, these prepositions, there's never a one-to-one mapping from one language to another. Usually it might mean three things in one language, and then it's hard to see what it's going to work as in the other language. So you have to be flexible with it in English. Be a little relaxed. So he could be saying he's actually stretching his arm over Egypt, right? But I'm going to go with against, because we already had against with the beit. Well, that was with. We had it up here. Where was that? Wait, no. Oh, yeah, against the land of Egypt. Although that could also be in the land of Egypt. You see, sometimes it's a judgment call. So myself, if I'm making a translation from this that I want to put out there, usually this would be a time where I would look at the Septuagint. I would go and see how the Jewish Greek translates it, because that'll help you nail it down sometimes to one particular possibility. Or sometimes look at the Targum. All right. when I stretch out my hand, al against Mitzrayim, vehotsetiy, then I will bring out et bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, from toch, the middle or the midst, of them. Mitocha means from their midst. You see? Christopher asks, why use yadi and not yadayim? So he's just using one hand. He's just using one hand. That's a great question. The implication is that he doesn't need to use both hands, right? One hand is enough. Sometimes the Psalms will employ both hands. Like the Psalms will say, like, with my left hand, I do this to the wicked. With my right hand, I bring in the righteous, right? So sometimes you will get that kind of wordplay going on with two hands, but it's tricky in the poetry because he'll say my right hand, and then he'll just say my hand. And so again, the Hebrew context tells you to translate my hand as my left hand. If he's saying, with my right hand I do such and with, or if he says, with my hand I do such and with my right hand I do whatever, then we know it's left hand and right hand, right? So the left hand oftentimes is punishment coming, right? Yeah, it's just my hand. Yeah, Joshua's right. If it was my hands, it would be yadai. Yadai, right? So Adoni, my Lord, Adonai, my lords. My hand, yadi, my hands, yadai, right? My eye, eini, my eyes, einai. My ear, ozni, my ears, oznai. Okay? Good. All right. Hey, we made it. Oh, no, I was wrong. I thought we got off that frame, but here we go. All right. Good questions and comments. Verse 6. Vayaas Moshe ve'aharon kasher tziva Adonai otam kain asu. So this verb, you might not recognize it. It's asa. Ayin, sin, hey. So it ends in a hey. But remember, if you've been participating in our immersion studies before, remember when a verb ends in a hey, it often goes away, right? So that's my little rhyme for it. If it ends in a hey, it goes away. So ya'as means he will do. Vaya'as means and he did. So who's the subject? Moshe. It's kind of interesting. We have a singular verb here, but you have Moshe ve'Aaron. They're like a collective unit. So Moshe ve'Aaron. So Moshe and Aaron, ya'as, they did. We have to say in English to make it sound right. Ka'asher, and that's a little bit weird, by the way. According to, ka'asher means according to. It's literally like such or something like this. So according to, tziva, commanded, Adonai, otam. That means them. Okay. All right. Please make sure to click like if you like what we're doing here. Cain, asu. Such they did. So here we have the singular, and then here we have the plural for them. So it's kind of interesting. There might be some kind of sewed reason for that's going on. All right, verse 7. Umoshe ben shemonim shana, ve'Aaron ben shalosh monim shana bedaberam el paro. Okay, there's a red line blocking some of my vowels there. Okay. Umoshe. Now Moshe was, we have to supply from English. Shalom Tet, glad you're here. Okay. Ben Shemonim. So this literally means a son of Shemonim Shana, of 80 years. That's how you express age in Hebrew. You say, I'm a son of however many years, or I'm a daughter of how many years, depending on the age of the person, okay? So Moshe was 80 years old, we would say. Ve'Aaron, and Aaron was, we have to supply, Ben Shalosh Shmonim Shana. He was 3 and 30 years. Literally a son of 3 and 30. So he's 3 years older than Moshe. 83 years old. Sorry, did I say 30? I'm a little tired. Shalosh 3 ushmonim and 80. 83. Shana years old. Bedaberam, when they spoke el unto Paro. So again, remember, when you have a verb and you have a bait in front of it, that almost always means when. So when spoke, and then if you want to know who's doing the speaking, look at the suffix. They, the mem, they, when they spoke. It's really something like, it's an infinitive, so it's really something like when they're speaking, right? Like that. Okay? Any comments, questions before we move on to the next frame. Sorry, I got a little thirsty there. The power supply for my light is the one I usually use for the fan. So I have to choose, do I want lights or do I want a fan? So the fan is off. I need to build one maybe tomorrow for the fan. All right. Moving right along. So there they are, praying. Then we'll come down into the text. Where to put myself? Fine. All right, verse 8. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe. Then Adonai said unto Moshe, Ve'el, and unto Aharon, Lemor, saying, verse 9, Ki yedaber aleichem paro. Excuse me. For Pharaoh, yedaber, will speak, aleichem, unto you all. Lemor, saying. And by the way, you might be wondering, why is Pharaoh so far from the verb? Very often, you'll get a you can get a preposition, especially if it's a short one, like li, lecha, denoting the indirect object. It will slip in right after the verb. It likes to do that sometimes. So even though the normal word order is verb, and then we have subject, and then object, oftentimes the indirect object can slip in right there, right before, right? Or a small preposition will slip in right after the verb. So, ki yadaber alechem paro, when, let's go with when Pharaoh speaks unto you all, lemor, saying, tinu lachem mopetay, ve'amarta el Aharon, tinu. This is from Natan. That first noon is gone, okay? So the t and the n are still there. So tinu, it's a command form, plural. Give, lachem, for yourselves, mopetay, a wonder or a plague. Ve'amarta, then amarta, you shall say, el, unto Aharon. This is what Moshe is to say. Qach et matacha vehashelekha lifnei Pharaoh yehila tanin. Qach, from lakach. This is command from lakach. The lamed goes away in this verb for some. It's a weird verb, so you just have to get used to it. Lakach, pretty common word to take, acquire, etc. To buy, it can mean sometimes. So qach is the command form, talking to one person, to a man. Kechi if it's to a girl, but qach, take, et, matacha. So this is your matay, your staff, vehashelekha, and cast, lifnei Pharaoh, in Pharaoh's presence, or before Pharaoh. Hey, shalom, Davy. Yehila tanin. It will become a tanin, a serpent. It's an interesting choice of words here, right? It doesn't say it will become a nachash. Nachash would be the usual word we'd use for snake. Tanin, it does mean serpent, but more often than not, this means like sea monster. So there actually is a midrash, and I can't remember. A friend of mine this years back, I was dating this Russian Jewish gal, and her brother, a friend of mine, he was going to an Orthodox shul there, and one of the study groups they had, he learned the midrash that it actually became an actual sea serpent. So I don't know the source because I heard it third hand like this. So anyway, like the mighty tanin that's in the sea, right? That Hashem deals with, it's tanin. So, but I think it's more like just the generic. It works if we say serpent, because we can do this in English as well, right? A serpent can be a snake, or it can be, you could say, a sea serpent, right? Like the Loch Ness monster could be a tanin. All right. Okay. And they're praying. Great. All right. Going to the next page. Please make sure to click like. Sorry I didn't bang out a psalm this morning. I had insomnia last night. It made it very hard for me to... I had planned to get up around 6 to bang that thing out, and it just... My body was not cooperating. No, you don't. Not after being up so late. Oh, that's a nice picture. I like this one. All right, let me zoom out. Let me let you see the whole picture there. See it? Pharaoh is unimpressed. Right? Here's his wise men. You're going to see the word for them is kind of funny. I think it's a polemic, although I haven't seen any commentaries ever saying it was, but I'll explain it when we get there. Okay, so let's get down to the words now. That's it for those of you on cellular phones. Great. All right. Verse 10. Vayavo Moshe ve'Aharon el Paro. Vayavo Moshe ve'Aharon. So Moshe and Aaron, Yavo from Ba, they arrived, El unto Paro. Vayaasu, remember from asa, the hay is gone. When the verb ends in a hay, it goes away. Vayaasu, and they did. Chain, such, kasher, according to how. This kasher, it's usually going to be like that in English when you see kasher together, because it's going to be followed by a verb, right? In the manner that, etc. Tziva Adonai, the Adonai had commanded, right? So they did what Adonai had commanded. Okay, I think I need to move my mic just a bit. That's all right. All right, so there it is, casting down the staff. Vayashlech Aharon et matehu lifnei Pharaoh velifnei avadaiv. Okay, so this word shalach is to throw or to cast. Vayashlech, so yashlech means he is casting or he will cast. And here we have the vav, changes the time, makes it perfect, which we will translate as past tense. Vayashlech, so, and Aharon cast et matehu, his mate. The hu at the end means his mate, his staff. Lifnei Pharaoh, before Pharaoh. Velifnei avadaiv, and before his avadim, servants. Right? So remember when you have a plural word that's masculine, so it ends in the mem. If you want to make it mean of, then you drop the mem. And that's really the same thing that happens when we put a suffix on it. Right? This is how you know it's his servants and not his servant. His servant would be avado. Avado, right? It still has the vav at the end, but it's pronounced o. This one's got the yod there. Why? That's left over from avadim. If it helps you, if you're familiar with the Pesach Seder, the Ashkenazi Pesach Seder, then maybe remember, Avadim hayinu, we were slaves were we were, right? So Avadim, slaves or servants, depending on context. Same thing with Greek, doulos, slave or servant, depending on context, right? So the way that you say his slaves or his servants, you really say slaves of him, see? So it's still got the of, just like I taught you guys. It's just, you need to work through it to make it sound correct in English. Sounds kind of weird if we say slaves of him, right, or servants of him. So we just say his servants, okay? Thanks for explaining that, Tet. She was here, but it wasn't letting her chat for some reason. All right, here we go. Vayehi letanin. So this is from the verb haya. So this can mean, and it was, or it became. Haya means to become or to be, which is exegetically significant when you think about the verse. Vayitem kedoshim li. Pardon me. You shall become holy for me. Right? So it could be you will be or you'll become. And I think this is kind of appropriate because we are in a process of working out holiness. We're trying to become more holy so we are truly good representatives of Am Segulato, his precious, specific nation. So Vayhi Letanin, it became a Tanin. There it is. Mean looking Tanin. Like he's got his hands on his hips, like satisfied. He's satisfied. Beat that. The body language. Ha ha, beat that. All right. Okay. Sorry, it's a small frame here, this one. Verse 11. Vayikra gam paro lachachamim velamachshafim. Okay. Vayikra, so Pharaoh gam also. Now kara means to call. Kara plus lamed can mean a few different things. Kara plus lamed can mean to name, right? Like for those of you who saw my haftarah, the triennial haftarah we studied last Shabbat, where Isaiah is prophesying about the Messianic era, and he says that, Vekarat Yeshua lechamotayich. You shall name your walls Yeshua, right? Vesha'arayich tehillah. And your gates, praise, right? So that's actually to name. Kara le, right? You will name your walls Yeshua, right? We have that nice prophecy with the Messiah's name actually there. Really pretty amazing, okay? And it is a name formula there. Kara le, to name, okay? Otherwise, it can mean to summon. So in the verse in Isaiah that I'm telling you about, I don't remember the exact verse. It's around Isaiah 60 somewhere, I think. Early on in 61, I think. Later in 60. Near the end of chapter 6, I think that was. So, it clearly that doesn't mean you shall summon your walls, Yeshua, right? So it's to call, all right? Now, this one is to summon, kara le, that's to summon. So, vayikra gam paro, and Pharaoh gam also summoned the chachamim, okay? Wise men. That's not the chachamim. It just means wise men. Velam chashafim. And we have another lamed, so and the verb is doing double duty, and he summoned machashefim, magicians or sorcerers, which is interesting because in the Torah we have this command, machshef lo yechaye, you shall not allow a sorcerer to live. Brenda says, sorry I didn't comment before, just got back from driving my kids to school. No problem, I'm used to that. I know you have to go early in the morning to take them in. Thanks for letting us know, Brenda. Hey, shalom, Dr. DeVera, welcome. All right, people piling in. Please make sure to click like if you're just coming in now, if you like it, okay? All right, so I guess this guy is the wise guy. He's Italian mafia, and this guy is the sorcerer. All right. That's a big picture. So we see they're doing the same thing. And if any of you like The Prince of Egypt, I love that movie. But they take some liberty and they make it look like the magician, the sorcerer. Sorcerer is better than magician. Better definition. Like the sorcerers are just like doing illusions. Hey, don't look. I don't think that's what it is because the text is going to tell us they did it. Well, you'll see. It's not saying they faked it. I think there's actually demonic presence there helping these guys out. All right, so continue on. Vayaasu gamhem, and here's that word I was saying about that's going to be interesting. Chartumei mitzrayim, belahatehem kin. Okay, so vayaasu, and they did. Thanks, Doc. Gam also, hem, they. Chartumei Mitzrayim. Now this is interesting because up here we said that he summoned chachamim, wise guys, wise men. He summoned mechashafim, sorcerers. He called Harry Potter over, all the Harry Potters. But now it's saying the Chartumei Mitzrayim. This is more like a category that includes all of those. And I'm going to tell you what it means. The root that this is from, chartom, in Hebrew, means engraver. Engraver, like picture holding a hammer, putting stuff on the walls, like this stuff we see on the walls in the background. They're engravers, right? So this, my understanding of the text is this is a category that's a super category. It includes Egypt's chachamim, their wise men, and also the mechashefim, their sorcerers. They're all engravers. The idea is Egyptian language, the writing system is very difficult. Right? I can tell you this as someone who studied it. It's interesting and it's a challenge, but it's very difficult to learn to read ancient Egyptian. And many people in the ancient world were illiterate anyway, much more so in Egypt. Right? The only people who knew how to read, other than the nobility, was this class of people here. You have the magicians and the sheshparach, the scribes, and these types, right? And that was their job, right? They decorated columns and stuff, and they wrote magical spells. They copied books, etc., 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 right? But hey, shalom, Americon. But I think, Tet says there's that Khartoumé word again. Khartoum is also a place, right? I think the Bible is actually using this as a polemic against these guys. Think about it. If you're a Hebrew speaker, Israeli back then, the engravers are going to do something now, right? It's like, I think it's mocking them to call them the engravers. I mean, you're being called a sorcerer on one hand, and you're being called a wise man. That's kind of honorable, right? But now it's just the engravers, okay? So these are the guys, magical spells, etc. They were recorded by Khartoumim, by engravers. So that's how I like to translate the word, even though I know most lexicons you look up, it'll say something like soothsayers, wise men, something like that. But I don't think that makes a lot of sense, because Pharaoh summoned, who did he summon? Where am I? He summoned the chachamim and the mechashefim, not the soothsayers. That would be a third category. But if we understand both of these guys knew how to chartom, how to engrave, how to write, for example, then it makes sense that these are the ones who are doing it, right? Hey, shalom, James. Great, glad you made it. All right. So vayaasu gam hem chartumei Mitzrayim. So, and gam also, hem, they, the chartumei Mitzrayim, the engravers of Egypt, yaasu, they did, belahat tehem. A lahat, now this is kind of funny, in Tagalog, correct me if I'm wrong, lahat means everything, right? Like all, like todos in Espanol, right? But in Hebrew, and biblically, lahat is a secret. It's like a secret. It's one of the many, there's many words for secret, right? This is usually translated their secret arts, right? Their secret, they kept all their magic. They thought it's powerful, right? So they keep it to themselves. So, belahatehem. Hem means there. And again, look, there's that yod. So, belahatim would be by secrets. And then we drop the mem, by secrets of hem, of them. But then you make it sound better in English. The bait, by or with their secrets, or secret arts, I think works. Cain, such. So they did such. Verse 12. Vayashelekha ish matehu. So shalach, we had that before. Here's Hifil, so cast, cause it to go. Vayashelekha, and they cast ish matehu. Ish means man. So literally it says a man, matehu, his mate, his staff. But ish will oftentimes be used to mean each one. So vayashelekha, and it's a plural here, right? So each matehu, his staff. Okay. They're watching over there. Okay. Pharaoh's curious. Can they do it? Oops, I might have given you some advance warning of what's coming. So there's their snakes. Vayihu letanim. And they became. Yihu means they were, they became. Pardon me, actually means they will be, or they will become, or they are being. And then the Vav changes all that to nail it down in time to make it perfect. Vayihu, and they became letaninim, serpents. Or sea monsters. Okay. Right. vayivela matei aharon et matotam. Now this word, this shouldn't be too hard to remember, guys. This could be kind of a free word for tonight. Blah. If we pronounce it the way it was pronounced in biblical times, right? Today we don't pronounce the ayin anymore. But it used to be like kind of like the lowest sound you can make in your throat. So this word would have been blah, 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 blah. And it means to swallow. It almost sounds like it, right? Like blah, blah, you're swallowing, blah. So that's one way. There is some benefit to trying to pronounce those ayins, at least for the mnemonic benefit. Brenda says, what sources are you guys using to begin learning biblical Hebrew? Yeah, it's a good question. So usually when I have an intro class, I don't assign a text. We use the Russian method, it's called. So I spent a little bit of time studying at Moscow State University in Moscow, back right after the wall came down. And I like the way they teach at the colleges there. The way they teach is there's no textbook. At least that's how it used to be. The teacher is your text. You depend on the teacher, which means you take copious notes in class. If you miss class, you better get with somebody. And, the teacher has to know their stuff then, of course, too. They can't just kind of walk through a grammar, reading to you whatever it says on the page, right? I used to teach using the grammar that my rabbi used with me, which is an excellent grammar, but it's a little bit out of date. It was made in the 50s originally, before they used computers for typesetting Hebrew fonts. So if you don't have great eyesight, it's not great. But if you see fine, I highly recommend A Practical Grammar for Classical Hebrew by Jacob Weingreen, Oxford Press. But the prices fluctuate on these things. It's weird. Like every once in a while, like when the semester's starting in the States, then you'll see they go like $100 sometimes. Okay? If you're looking on Amazon, sometimes $100, sometimes more. And then if you get it when the semester's already going, down to like $40, sometimes even 30. Sometimes you get a used copy for a song if you're lucky on eBay or something. So that's a great text. I used to just go through those exercises with my students. But now when we have an intro class, I have my own slides I prepare, and I just teach them, though I kind of filter out the stuff that I think isn't so great. I take samples from 5 different grammars. Seo has a great Hebrew grammar, Seow. Also, who's the other one? Pradico is also good. That's the author. I don't know the name of it. Pretty much any modern Hebrew grammar you pick up is going to be fine. Just make sure it's biblical Hebrew, all right? Please don't get one from modern Hebrew, all right? Nothing wrong with learning modern Hebrew. That's a great thing to learn. But, the Bible, it's a different dialect, right? So we want to make sure that we're understanding what we're reading, yeah? First and foremost. Okay, so good question there, Brenda. Yeah, I know you're doing modern Hebrew through Duolingo. That's a great app. Yeah, very nice. Davey says, also, Aleph Bet on YouTube is also good for biblical Hebrew. And you're right, I have it on my channel here. You actually can learn quite a bit of the intro grammar if you go over to, I have another playlist. Right now, you are in the at Hebrew Literacy, that's the channel name, and you're in my playlist, Language Lab. Okay, this is Language Lab. There's another playlist called Grammar Snippets, and if you go over there, things are organized, and there's a number to each lesson, and it'll start with the Aleph Bet, it'll teach you how to read and all that stuff, and you can get some basic grammar, so you can learn that way as well, about through the level that you learn maybe from an intro level, okay? And if enough you want to learn, by the way, you can have a class. We are going to be starting classes soon, Bezrat Hashem, with the yeshiva that's starting up. It's new yeshiva. It's, I think it's something Gamliel. What are they calling it? Do you remember, Dr. Dwayne, what they're calling it? Oh, Rabbeinu Gamliel, I think. Rabbeinu Gamliel, which is associated with our organization, the UMJA. Right, and so I'll be teaching Bezrat Hashem intermediate and advanced Hebrew over there. They have a Sabra. Sabra is a native-born Israeli, someone who didn't immigrate, someone who's born in Israel, who will be teaching the intro class, so how to read and pronunciation, all that stuff. So if you guys are interested and you want to learn from a Sabra, then I'll get you the course details when that starts. Should be starting soon, and you can learn with him. And then afterwards, if you want to keep going with your grammar, then you can learn with me, or we can do it, on our own, like as a kind of a small class or something. James says, teacher, could you check out Aleph with Beit? It's all free. I use it for basic and you for advanced. Yeah, sure. You give me a link afterwards, okay, James? Or you could put it here in the chat or in the comments. That's fine. And as long as it's not a book I have to buy, yeah, I'll check it out. Okay? Great. All right. Good, good. By the way, guys, that's great. You want to improve your Hebrew. It's my belief that the best thing you can do for upping your game with biblical studying is learning the holy language. The best thing. And what will happen, even if you have a limited amount of time to study your Bible, put it into Hebrew study now. And what will happen is if you have friends that are about the same level as you are in the Bible right now, you'll notice that in the short term, they'll be getting ahead, they'll be learning more gems and all that kind of stuff, while you're learning grammar and that kind of stuff. But I tell you what, once you've got your Hebrew game on, then you're going to see so many wonderful things, and it will do more for you than any commentary ever could. And I like commentaries. Commentaries are a great tool for going deeper, seeing what smarter people have discovered, also great, right? But learning, I mean, if you read Rashi, if you read Ibn Ezra, if you read, these various sages in the Mikrot Gedolot, very often they'll have a comment on a verse in the Bible that just says, oh, this doesn't look like Nephal, but it is, even though it looks like Hifil, right? And they'll talk a little bit about Hebrew grammar, right? These great sages, Ibn Ezra, right, with his masterful commentary on Isaiah and stuff, he'll just go into explaining some grammar stuff, even Rashi, right? So all of these wonderful rabbis, they understood first the student must be reading in Hebrew. You got to be reading in the Holy Tongue, right? Don't let somebody's translation tell you what the text means and control your interpretation by their worldview, right? And I'm not saying that these translations do it like with evil intent. It's just human nature. When we see the text, our denominational filters come up, and that's how you see it, right? So best, I believe, to arm people with Hebrew and let them really see what the text says and have the tools. You don't have to be totally fluent. You can look up words and stuff, right? But to be armed. Okay, James says it's a YouTube series, Biblical Hebrew. Okay, I don't want to promote them. Let me check it out first. Thanks that you wrote it, James. Let me check it out, and then I'll come back to you on it, okay? I'll give a verdict if I think that's a useful thing. All right? Good. Good. Okay, so Bala, Yivla, Mate, Aharon. So this is what's interesting. Even though we have a picture of a snake swallowing, literally what the text says is the staff of Aaron. Aaron's staff, Yivla, swallowed matotam, their staves. So, again, this was so long ago I learned this. I don't remember the source. Maybe if anybody out there knows the source, there's a teaching that says that they already went back to being rods, or there were rods for a while at this moment. And so literally it's a staff. And the staff like swallowed the other one. So it's even a more amazing miracle than if a snake can swallow the other. I'm not saying that's true. I think they're just referring to which snake is whom's, but it literally says Aaron's staff swallowed their staffs. Brenda says she didn't have any other friends who are learning. Well, we've got a few. Every once in a while, people tell me they're interested in learning, so I'm kind of keeping a list. We try to, usually my minimum for a Hebrew class is 10 students, right? And then you're supposed to encourage each other. And if it drops below the 10, well, then the class pauses, right? Until you convince the other to come back. The point is to encourage each other to stick with it, because in the end, it's really worth it. Dr. Dwayne says, ever watch a snake swallow? It is pretty slow. Gotta wonder how long they stood there and watched the process. That's funny. I never thought of that. Yeah, I have seen a snake swallow. And I've seen a snake swallow another snake. A king snake eat a copperhead up in our woods when I was a kid. Dr. Dwayne says, unless there was a miraculous speed increase, right? Maybe that's why there were stabs. They had to go back to stabs to make it. Yeah, I never thought of that. That's a really nice point. All right, now here's Pharaoh, unconvinced. Verse 13, vayechezaq leiv paro, velo shema aleihim, kasher diber Adonai. Okay, vayechezaq. So chazak is to be strong. Vayechezaq means became strong. Leiv paro, the heart of Pharaoh. So his mind, his resolve. Velo shema, and he did not listen, aleihim, unto them. Kasher, according to how Diber Adonai had said. Oh, yeah. Oh, you never saw one snake eat another? Yeah. Yeah, we used to leave king snakes alive when we saw them because they're not venomous and they eat venomous snakes. So it's like really good to have them around. It was weird. They're like a big knot, like a huge knot, like all intertangled with each other. And the copperhead was biting the king snake, biting him, trying to bite him. So I guess they were fighting at this point, you know. And then later we went up and the king snake is just like fat. Dwayne says, oh, maybe the snakes were fighting and that caused them to just stand and watch. Haha, interesting to think about nonetheless. We'll have to ask Moshe when we see him in Olam Haba. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's an interesting detail. Like what was going on there. Okay, we're almost done with chapter 7. Let me see. Oh, okay. We're actually about halfway done. I don't think we're gonna get done. It's pretty big. I like the interaction, by the way, guys. Please keep it coming. It's 10:24. Should I do this next page or not? I think not. I think we'll stop here. This is a nice place to stop. Pharaoh is being a jerk. You know, he's all set in his ways. We had some nice talk about the snakes. Pretty interesting. James says, I have a couple of theories on this. One that was sleight of hand, and the other that the shadim, that means demons, had more power before the transfiguration and resurrection. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think it's probably the second one, James. I like the second one better. I don't think they did tricks because the text says they did it by their secret arts, right? So they made staves change. And look, it even refers to the snakes as matotam, their staves. So we're wondering why it says staves. It might be for the very reason that we realize that it was something real that they did. I think you're definitely right by shadim. Because look, this is a spiritual struggle. Hashem tells us, Eshpot et Elohehem, I will judge their gods, right? And what are their gods? Well, their gods are demons in the case of in Egypt, right? They're demonic. I mean, I think that's why they have these weird, if you've ever seen Egyptian gods, just bizarre, like a jackal on a human head, a falcon on a human body. I mean, and just bizarre, weird, messed up. It even feels perverted, right? Sometimes it seems juvenile. Sometimes it just seems like a perversion. Okay, guys, please make sure to click like. Good study tonight. We will finish tomorrow, chapter 6. Oh, wait, I mean chapter 7. Right? We're on chapter 7 now? Wait, let me see. Yes, we'll finish chapter 7 tomorrow. And I thought we'd get farther, but there was a lot of text. You guys make sure that you can post questions. You can also come over and meet us. In the description, I have the link to our Telegram channel, t.me/messianicchat. Come on over. Join us over there for the talk if you can. And I'll be glad to see you guys. Dr. Dwayne's over there, Dr. DeBera, Brenda, Tet. Davey, are you over there? Oh, yeah, I think you're over there, right? Oh, Davey does Duolingo also. Good. Shalom, shalom. Be well, guys. Have a great evening or morning, whatever the case may be, and I will catch you.